Assalamu alaikum everyone. Welcome to this free webinar of today with the topic emotional intelligence.
عليكم السلام.
This is Abdul Subhan with you, Engineer Abdul Subhan from HSEQ Professionals. I'm looking after operations and business development in this company. And today we have our team, Mr. Shamir, and our expert, Dr. Muhammad Yahya Noori, who will be leading this webinar, inshallah. So I would like to give a brief introduction of our company, HSEQ Professionals. Basically, HSEQ Professionals is a US based services company which provide health and safety, quality, food safety, and multiple sectors, the consultation and the training. Training related to industrial, related to professional growth, and all these. And our company profile will also be shared with you soon, inshallah. And we are having our head office in US and regional office here in Jeddah, Riyadh, and Karachi, Pakistan. And we have expertise in doing the ISO consultation, auditing, and inspection services. So now, without delaying, we will be going towards the start of the session. I would like to introduce Dr. Muhammad Yahya Noori, who is already joined and with us. And now over to you, Sir Yahya. Sir Yahya. Thank you so much.
Assalamu alaikum everyone. A very good afternoon to you. I hope you are doing well.
Salam.
Alhamdulillah.
Awesome.
وعليكم السلام.
What I will do here would be asking you a few questions again and again on the chat box. So you should be ready to type your answers over there. So can I know where you joining from? Very quickly.
Yeah, this is Atif. I joined from Jeddah, Saudi Arabia.
You can write it down in the chat box. That would be good enough. Thank you, Atif. Awesome. So we can start. The word emotional intelligence is a very interesting word because it's kind of an oxymoron. What is an oxymoron? A word which has two different words having opposite connotations, opposite ideas. So when you are emotional, then you are not intelligent. Have you ever seen an emotional guy who is intelligent as well? No, probably difficult. So either you are emotional or you are intelligent, but the best part is that you can use your emotions intelligently and really become emotionally intelligent. And how we are going to discuss it today with me. Who am I? I am actually a professor at Dow University of Health Sciences, Karachi in Pakistan. And I am, besides, I have my own little institute, a digital institute for training people in emotional intelligence, leadership, NLP, happiness, and I do that on the place where we call it www.numud.org, and it's called Numud Institute of Leadership Development, for leadership development rather. So today we are going to talk about a few things. First one is, what is emotional intelligence? Second, we are going to talk about the easiest and the simplest model in this domain, and that is called Goleman's model. And then we are going to talk about some practical applications of emotional intelligence. And finally, we are going to discuss how we can use emotional intelligence to lead people intelligently. And then we'll have some actionable insights. And I might be asking a few questions from you as well. We will also run some polls and we'll see how it goes. So, are you ready? Awesome. Okay, so let's start. So, what is emotional intelligence? So, I'll go for a technical definition because it's not a popular science concept. It's actually a concept which is very deeply rooted in research. Goldman, what did he do? He actually popularized that concept. So, when he started writing about emotional intelligence, in a way, the common people started to understand what emotional intelligence was. So, how do we define it? It's the ability to monitor one's own feelings, then the other person's feelings, and then use this information to tailor your own communication in such a way that you can communicate effectively with the other person and influence that person. So, this is actually emotional intelligence. Now, I'll go back and reflect a little bit upon research. When we go into the body of research, we find out that there are certain different models of emotional intelligence which are deeply rooted in scientific discovery. Now, the first one which actually started coming out brought a question whether emotional intelligence is a personality trait like introversion, extroversion, or whether emotional intelligence is a capability. So, whether it's very deeply rooted or it's just something you can easily teach. So, you cannot easily teach a person who is quiet, who is reclusive, who sits maybe in a room, reads books, to become a person who loves to be among people, who loves to laugh and make jokes and just shout. You can see the difference between these two type of personalities. You probably would belong to one of those personalities. Either you are a people person or you are somebody who likes to work solitary. So these are personality traits. If you are an introvert, I can't teach you easily to become an extrovert. Personality is not permanent. You can get there, but it's not very easy. It will take time. It will take practice. But every time you do that, you become a little bit more confident in doing that. So whether it's a personality trait, either I am emotionally intelligent or I'm not, or is it something which is just like teaching somebody to operate this mobile phone? I can teach you to become more aware of yourself and your surroundings. Can I teach you to become more regulated in terms of how you express your emotions? Can I teach you to understand the perspective of the other person who's right in front of you? Can I teach you to feel what the other person is feeling? And above all, can I teach you to stay motivated and motivate others? So, if the answer is yes, then probably without understanding the science of it, without understanding the process behind it, the mechanics behind it, you can actually start using it. It's just the way we all drive cars. In Pakistan, we also have the manual cars. I don't know if you have the manual cars still in the UAE and Saudi Arabia, where you have a manual gear shift. So my wife got an automatic car and I had my manual car with a manual shift. So while driving it, I was so used to of going back to my originals that I would put the brakes and I'll change the gear and get confused. And finally I had to get an automatic car as well so that I use the same type of cars. But now my has a key ignition and the other one has the button ignition. So sometimes I'm looking for the button. Happens. Well, so Goldman's model is based upon 5 different aspects which I can teach you, or which you can teach yourself or somebody else. The first one is self awareness. Whether you understand that what you are feeling, what you are like, what are the lenses you have in front of you which makes you see the world in such a way, in a particular way. Then self-regulation, that if I am angry, am I aware that I am angry? If I am sad, am I aware that I am sad? And can I pick up the same emotions from the person in front of me? Can I have that feel where I can actually use a communication style which is appropriate for the situation? Can I motivate myself and can I motivate others? These are the 5 pillars of Goldman's model of emotional intelligence. Now we are going to talk about the self-awareness first. Now I practice something, I'm a practitioner of something that is called neuro-linguistic programming or NLP. How many of you have heard of NLP? So I'm looking for your answers. No, I have heard about it. 1, 2. Yes, no, yes, no, no, yes. I have, don't know. No, no, no. Okay. I have got enough no's that I will explain what it is. So I would say it's an art. It's an art of communication where you use your mental processes, your language, and you actually also understand how they work together. And you use them for improving your communication. So neuro, mental processes, linguistic, the way you use the language, and the way you are using them in a predictable fashion to influence other people and to influence yourself as well. That is a particular field. I would say that it was based on looking at some people who were very experienced in communicating with people and influencing them, and was actually created by people called John Grinder and Richard Bandler. And they started this NLP, and then there were a lot of other people like Robert Dills who actually moved it forward and brought new things into it. So I am a neuro-linguistic programming licensed practitioner. And I learned it from my teacher, Kamran Sultan Sahab, who's one of the most experienced NLP practitioner in Pakistan. Well, coming back. So do I understand myself? Why did I bring NLP the into the matter? Because NLP actually explains that if our purpose is clear, I understand what is the purpose of my life. If my identity is clear to me, I understand who I am. If my beliefs and my values are very clear to me, then my actions are predictable. then I have a particular idea that how am I going to act in a certain situation. I don't get confused. Whenever there's a decision point, I know what my identity is, I know what my values are, I know what my purpose of life is, and it's easy for me to take an action. I understand that there are other people of other faith as well, so you may be related, you may relate these things from your books, but for us in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ, that we have created the humans and the jinns only so that they worship us. So the way we worship is different. Some people find worship, there are certain things which are obligatory on us. Then some people find it in helping others. Some people find their worship in paying for others. Some people find their worship in working in a hospital, maybe serving patients. Some people might teach. I love education. I love lifelong learning, so I try and spend my time teaching and training others. That's my way of worshipping. So, my purpose, my identity, my values, if they are clear to me, then it would be easier for me to take decisions. Then, I need to understand my personality. So, I initially talked about two different traits, either being an extrovert or an introvert. An introvert behaves in a certain way and an extrovert behaves in a certain way, and there is somebody who is in the middle, and you call them ambiverts. Remember that the middle way is the best way. That means you should be able to behave in an introvert as an introvert when the time requires you to behave as an introvert, and you should be able to behave as an extrovert when the time requires you to behave like an extrovert. Right? So, the first thing you should remember is that personality is not permanent. So there's a website called 16personalities.com. You can go there and you can take your test and find out that what different type of the 16 types of personalities you have. But the idea is, if I am an introvert, I am an introvert. I need to understand that what should my communication style be when I'm talking to an introvert. What my communication style should be when I'm talking to an extrovert. So these are different communication styles. So if I'm talking to an introvert and I am an introvert as well, I will actually be sitting quietly probably if I'm not trained enough. And the other person, since he is not trained as well, he would also be sitting quietly and we won't be talking unless we are connected in some way. But if I am sitting in front of an extrovert and I am an introvert, then he would be talking and I would be doing the listening job. Now, what will happen? That if I am paired as an introvert to an extrovert, I will be happy because I don't mind talking or not talking. And he would be happy as well because he has got a good listener. But in case if I am an extrovert, you are an extrovert, and you are sitting right in front of me, and you speak a lot of time, like for example, you spoke up for about 25 minutes and you spoke only for about 5 minutes, then actually the two-way communication has not taken place. I might be thinking that, okay, this person only talks about himself. He never asked me any question. He doesn't know about me. He doesn't care about me. So, being an extrovert, influencing an individual who is an introvert becomes difficult. What you actually should be doing, that you should be giving that person some time, asking some deep questions so that he can open it in front of you. And you should open yourself in front of him as well. There's a very beautiful book called Super Communicators. It's right there. I'm reading it these days. And it actually tells you that you should take the communication to a level of emotions. I asked you, where are you from? You gave me a name of the place. That is only exchange of facts. But if I ask you, how is it to live in Dammam or in Jeddah or anywhere else for that matter, then you are going to tell me how is it to live over there. Now we are communicating at an emotional level. And then we can go deeper and deeper and deeper gradually, not in a single day. And then we create a safe psychological space where both of us can communicate. So first thing, we should understand our personality. The second level of the 16 personalities is that people are either intuitives or sensing. We call it N's or S. Now the difference is that intuitives, they talk in an abstract fashion. Sensing, they talk in a numbers way. So if my boss is an S and I am an N, and I'm going to go and tell him stories of different types, he probably wouldn't understand much of it. Or you won't be able to get value from it because it's a different lens he uses to look at the world, to understand the world around him. So I have to go from the stories, I have to jump to the facts, I might have to take a paper along, I might use a whiteboard. I was talking to my wife and talking to her about how she communicates to somebody who is an S. She said to me, when I go to my boss, I use a whiteboard in his office to explain the things, or use a paper, because you are structuring the communication. You're talking in a way he understands or she understands. 2 hours के बाद. So what do we do is we actually change our communication styles according to the person right in front of us. Now somebody might say that why should I keep changing myself? Because in NLP we believe that the most flexible person in communication or otherwise controls the system. Because he's not rigid, he will change his communication style according to the person in front of him. In the same way, a lot of you are from Saudi Arabia. So, for example, if you have an Arab person who doesn't understand English or Urdu or any other language, you will have to find a way to communicate with him. And if he is very self-centered, if you don't speak his language, he'll probably kick you out. So one of my students asked the same question. She's in Germany, and I told her that for your German boss, you have to speak in German. If you say that, no, I'll be myself, I'll speak in Urdu or I'll speak in English, you don't care whether he understands or not, you'll be kicked out of your job. In the same way, you understand that the person in front of you doesn't like stories, he likes numbers. So go and talk in the term of numbers. Go and talk in the term of structure. Then there is a third parameter, that is thinking or feeling. So a thinking person talks in the terms of policies, strategies, plans. He wants you at 8 a.m. sharp in the office. He doesn't care if your mother is sick or you have a headache or whatever you have. He doesn't process his emotions. And for example, if you are an F like me, F is feeling, then you always talk about emotions. And it's the vice versa. So if you are in front of a person who is T type, you would like to talk in terms of these things: policies, timings, procedures, strategies, plans. And if you are in front of a person who is an F type, you're going to talk about emotions. I feel sad, I feel happy, I feel angry. He will understand that language. And he will think about people's emotions. The T person is not going to care about what other people feel most of the time. And the last one is J and P. So J's, they like something definite. So a person who's a J has a very fixed type of career steps. He likes to follow fixed steps. And if something uncertain happens, he is really confused. And a P type of person likes options. I can do this, I can do that, I can do this, I can do that. I'll show you my website. You can go and read my story over there. I've always taken the path which I really wanted to take. There was an Indian movie called Mohabbatein. When I was young, I saw that, and you probably have watched that too, because I see some people are from India, maybe origin from India. And there was the dialogue. I'll just speak a little bit of Urdu. कि मैंने हमेशा अपने दिल की सुनी. And Shah Rukh Khan actually started playing violin when he was kicked out of the university. Right? Anybody remembers that? Oh, I'm sorry, Saad. I haven't displayed these letters. I'm just explaining them one by one from my memory. Yes. Anybody else remembers the movie? Okay. So, all of us, we have a particular personality type. You can remember 16personalities.com, and I'll write it in the chat box. Okay. And you can go and take your test whenever you like. Then we all have certain beliefs and certain values. Values are the rules which you have actually picked up from your parents, from your schools, from your teachers, and from the society. And most importantly, from the religion. So, for example, excellence is a value. For us, excellence is very important, because there's a hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He says, "In Allah azza wa jal kataba alaykum al-ihsana ala kulli shay'in," that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has written upon you that you work in excellence, with excellence in whatever you do. So excellence is wajib for us, necessary for us. That means whatever we do it in the best way. That is one of the value. Integrity is another value. There's a book by Posner and Causes, The Leadership Challenge, if I remember correctly. They asked that what was the commonest trait that managers would look into in their leaders, and that was integrity. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, لِمَ تَقُولُونَ مَا لَا تَفْعَلُونَ. Why do you say what you don't do? And it's something really grave in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when you don't practice your talk. So these are the values. You will probably have certain principles in your life through which you are spending your life, and which are important, for which you live, and you may die for. And these values are something which you should use as touchstones whenever you are going to make a decision. So if you are invited for a job which has certain legal issues or certain moral issues, the first thing you should go and check is your values. Is it aligned with my value system or not? If it's not aligned your value system, it will actually create something called cognitive dissonance, lead to depression, lead to burnout, and people commit suicides out of depression. Then you should actually think about being self-aware is also being aware of understanding that what are the triggers which actually put me off. Is there something which I hear and I get angry about it? Is there something which when happens I get happy about it? And how do I respond to it? When you are more aware of that, you can actually maintain your response to that. You should also understand, especially in terms of your home. that, as I talked about personality in the beginning, that people, I was coaching one of my friends who lives in Saudi Arabia as well, and he was actually somebody who was not open to options, J type. And there were people in his family, and most of the family members were the P type, those who are open to options. So he would actually get angry about going outside and unable that the family was unable to decide where to go because they were giving different options. And when I told him, he said his relationship with his family improved because now he understood that people are different. I am a P and my wife is a J. I understand that she doesn't like me putting a lot of options on the table. So I try and keep myself a little bit controlled. So I just give sometimes I give two to three options. That's enough. And then she has developed some tolerance because she understands that this is how I am. So what is the stuff which actually puts you off? So since you have a particular type of personality, it would be easier for you to manage and put up with those people who have the same type of personality. But if they are speaking a different language, they are different than you, then it will be very difficult for you to actually understand their own perspective. Now I have a little exercise for you. Mm, let me see if I can pull the whiteboard over here. No. No. Okay, forget it. I'll just explain it to you using annotations. How do I annotate that? Here. Give me a second. I am trying to find a pen. Okay, got it. So, oh, awesome. Right. Thank you, Saad. I am an old guy. Right. So here is you. Oh, I'm sorry for that. Here you are. Right? Please don't mess up with the whiteboard because otherwise it would be very difficult to understand what we are doing. And here is your perspective towards a conflict. Right? Generally, whenever we are in a conflict, we only see our own perspective. That's human nature. Right? But once in a while, if we stop, it could be your spouse, your boss, your colleague, and you start looking at it from the other person's perspective. Put yourself in his shoes and look at the situation from him, from his standing point. What will happen? You will get new insights. Because in NLP we say that map is not the reality. Whatever the reality is out there, I have a particular map of it. And that map is a little bit different from the reality because it is affected by my values, my perspective, my mindset, and all the other things. And then there is another person who also has a map of reality, and he's also looking at this particular type of situation from his perspective. And since we do not understand each other's perspective, we are looking at it from a different standpoint, we are looking at it differently, and we may be unable to find solutions because we have different points of view. Now, what do we have to do is we have to find each other's point of view. If you remember 7 habits of highly effective people, one of them is first seek to understand, then to be understood. Once you understand the other person's perspective, then it's easy for you to find a win-win. Somebody made me vanish. Okay, doesn't matter. Then there is a third person's perspective. Oh, he's back. Then there is a third person's perspective, which is an objective perspective. Oh, you cannot see the whiteboard. That is sad. But everyone else can see. Forget it. I'm just talking about it and I'm trying to explain. Let's look at me. Forget about the whiteboard. Let's cut it down. Here's the first person. You can see me. And he has a perspective. Then here's the second person and he has a perspective as well. Both are looking at reality which is down here somewhere in a different way. And both have a different version of reality which is their maps. And they are interacting to each other with each other according to their maps. Now, if I understand the other person's map, it is easy for me to actually think about a win-win because now I know what he wants. I can have an objective view as well, a helicopter view, and see that maybe I am wrong. Maybe I'm getting emotional for no reason. So this becomes easy for me to understand, right? So there are different perspectives. So coming back. Now, there's a little bit of exercise, another exercise which can help you to develop a perspective of self awareness. And that is that you take an emotional time out and you just scan yourself and think, how am I feeling? Can you see the slides? Because now I can't see the Zoom. Oops. Can somebody open his mic and tell me because I can't see anything else except for my slides.
Not visible, sir.
Not visible.
Not visible.
Not
Okay.
visible.
Just a second, please. Okay. Mm.
Yes, now it's fine.
Okay, that's good. Let's go back there. Now, once you develop the understanding of your personality, your values, your beliefs, there are certain other things as well we are just going to skip, except for one thing, which is really important, and that is called mindset. And we are only going to talk about one or two particular types of mindset before we move on. So, mindset is the way we actually look at a situation, and it's generally visible to other people that how we are behaving. There is one particular type of mindset that is called scarcity mindset. And then there is an opposite side of mindset that is called abundance mindset. So what is a scarcity mindset? That I feel that my win is going to be other person's loss. So I look at other person's plate and try to find something out of it and try to snatch something from it. Because I believe very strongly that my win will be his loss. If I don't kill him or damage his reputation, it's going to be difficult for me to go to a certain place to achieve something. So you will see this commonly in organizations. People are pulling each other's legs. They're trying to malign other people because they feel that there's only a limited size of the pie. But once you develop this abundance mindset, and again, there is a spiritual connotation to that. Ash-shaytanu ya'idukum al-faqr. That shaitan actually scares you of poverty. And then he actually encourages you, orders you to do things which are not moral enough. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually tells you that he calls you towards his fadl. What is fadl? The extra which he gives us. And so there's a spirituality in it as well, that if you believe that the resources in the universe are infinite, they are unlimited, then you will actually have your particular behavior, particular response set in an abundance mindset. A person who's working in abundance mindset actually likes to collaborate with people. He thinks very long term. He's not afraid. He knows that together, working with somebody else, you can actually create a win-win for everyone. So there are certain fruits of having abundance mindset. And then there are certain ills of having scarcity mindset. What is the first thing? That in a scarcity mindset, you are actually looking at the world with very finite resources. And then you believe that snatching resources from other people is going to make you rich. So, this is the way we operate when we are in scarcity mindset. We are consistently and constantly, if we are working with a scarcity mindset, we are in a state of war. And you understand that the wartime, you are fighting for your survival. And if you are fighting for your survival, there is no progress which is going on because always in a defensive mode. You are scared, you are afraid. You're using your survival instincts to fight for with an enemy which is actually not there. You're imagining enemies and always fighting for something and creating problems for others and for yourself as well. Because survival mindset or survival situation should not be arising every now and then. It should occasionally happen that you have to fight for your survival, and that's how the body is designed. But if you're in a constant stress and you're thinking that somebody is after me, then it's going to be very difficult for you to function properly and progress and take certain aggressive actions in or certain risks. So this is how you actually operate in the world. Then there is a problem oriented mindset and there is a solution oriented mindset. What is a problem oriented mindset? You might have heard this, that somebody has a problem and then he keeps talking about it for half an hour. You can experiment this by yourself. If you have a problem and you start thinking about its solutions, you define the problem, write it down. And when you write it down, you understand that these are the 5 parts of the problem. And you start thinking about that how am I going to sort this out? Each part. What will I do to sort out part number 1, part number 2, part number 3, part number 4, part number 5, and you start taking some actions. Once you start taking actions, the problem starts getting disappearing because now you are actually solving it. And the stress with the problem and the fun which you are getting by talking about the problem just vanishes. And there's an excitement which starts coming because now you're at a point where you're going to solve it. Now, how do we regulate ourselves? Once we know who we are, how we act, and we understand ourselves, this part becomes easy. So I told you to get a scan of yourself every few, I won't say few minutes, but maybe every hour or so, that how am I feeling? Now, for example, there are 6 points. You could be feeling very happy. You could be feeling just happy, just normal, slightly depressed, a little bit depressed, and very depressed. The last one is actually, I would say, number 1. For example, very depressed would happen when you have a real accident. Somebody has lost his life in your family or your friends or something like that. It obviously takes time to come out of it, but even if you are emotionally aware, then it becomes easier. Now, can you write down 5 things in front of you, maybe on your mobile phone if you're using a mobile phone, which can take you from a lower point to a higher point? For example, from slightly depressed to slightly pleasant or happy, or maybe moderately happy. Can you identify 5 different things? And they should be something constructive, not watching TV, not maybe indulging in alcohol or something. So remember my words. You might have identified 2 to 3. For example, if you ask me, I like to read books. I would go out. I would go for a drive. Though Karachi driving is really horrible, but I would go on highway to get a long drive, or maybe we have a very We have a middle, huge high. Not it's not a highway. It's a major artery of the city called Sharai Faisal. So named after King Faisal from Saudi Arabia. So I would go and take a drive on Sharai Faisal. You can drive a little bit faster and without congestion in the non-congestion hours, early morning and late night. So that gives me a little bit of respite, I would say. So there would be 5 things. Remember, start doing them. You should not be thinking about it. This list should be in front of you right away, and you should indulge in those things immediately. That will help you to change your mood from maybe slightly depressed, which could be because of no reason. Some people like gardening, some people like reading, some people like listening to something pleasant. Sightseeing, I would say spending time in nature is a really therapeutic. Some people would go and want to pray. And then you can do certain mindfulness practices. The first one is, if you can see me, right? So I would say what you can do is you can start focusing on your breath. Inhale deeply for 4 to 5 seconds. Hold it down. Yes, I have a box breathing formula. You can look at a few exercises on my YouTube channel as well. You can search it with Yahya Noori. I'll probably try and share it somewhere on the group as well. So you can take a breath in 5 seconds, hold it down, exhale for 5 seconds, and hold it for 5 seconds. That is called a box breathing, right? When you do that, you will feel better. You can focus on your heartbeat, and you can actually use it for with some sort of we call it tasbih. So for example, you can feel Allah. Ooh. So that makes you actually happy. You can also imagine while breathing in that all the positive energy of the universe is getting into your body through your breath, right? And it's cleansing your body from the negative emotions you have. And when it's going out, it's releasing those negative emotions outside. This is a particular meditative breathing exercise you can do. And then that will help you in actually improving the way you are feeling, right? Okay. And then you can reframe situations. What is reframing? I'll tell you a story. So there was a king in the Punjab region of Pakistan. His name was Maharaja Ranjit Singh. It's a story. I don't know how true it is, but he had one dysfunctional eye. He was blind from one eye. So he asked a painter, an artist, to paint a visual, a painting of him. And then what happened was the artist painted him, and he painted him with one eye closed and one eye open. And obviously the king didn't like it. And he sent the artist to dungeon. And then he called another artist, come and paint for me, my portrait. And this artist was clever and he had already heard what happened to the other artist. So he made him in such a way that he was with one closed eye and he was taking aim with an arrow and a bow and hunting. So the king was happy. What is this? This is shifting the frame. He still had one closed eye, but he was doing something which was not very unpleasant to look at. Right? So this is called reframing. You can always give benefit of doubt to people you are having issues with. You may actually think that maybe the person who is doing something is doing with some other intention. He might not have those bad intentions. And when you give when you reframe the situation, you look at the context of what has happened. If you remember, the I have read somewhere that Umar bin Khattab radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he actually stopped chopping the hands of the people, of the thieves, at the time of a famine, because he could see that people are really hungry and they can't find food. So they have no other option left than to thief it. Right? So gradually, being more aware, having good habits, good emotional habits, spending time in nature, doing breathing exercises, being mindful, you start cultivating emotional resilience. Then, now let's move to the other people around us. Do you have any questions up till now? You can type it down. So, when we say you have no questions, in Pakistan we say that either you understand everything or you understand nothing. So I'll try and think of reframe it. Dr. Arfa Miraj has a very good question. I'll share the book in the end. There are quite a few books. How do we deal with workplace stress? Yeah, I'm going to come to that. I'll start with is positivity always good. EQ book and workplace stress. Okay, let's come back. We'll come to that workplace stress in the end. About the positivity question, I had a question that is positively always good. We have to be somewhere between the realism and positivism. A positivity gives hope, but there has to be somewhere, some point between what really actually is happening and what should happen, what I'm expecting to happen, and what is the ground scenario, right? So, for example, if I see a snake in front of my child, I can't be positive about it. Oh, very nice, a beautiful snake in front of my child, let him play with it. No, I have to be careful that this snake is going to harm my child. It is harmful. So, every emotion and every state has certain use. So, for example, fear. If I ask you to go and jump from a sixth floor, and if you don't have a fear of killing yourself, you'll jump. So, but unnecessary fear out of that context is harmful. Anger. For example, somebody is robbing you. And for example, somebody is blocking your driveway every day. Should you not be angry about it? Although you should have certain control of how you're going to express your anger. وَالْكَاظِمِينَ الْغَيْظِ. But you should feel angry about it. If you're not feeling angry about somebody crossing your borders, then we should go and get a checkup for you. Right? So every emotion has a place. Expressed in that emotion, is it fear? Is it even a state of positivity? There should be some positivity, but you should also know what the real situation is. I'll come to anger management. While there's a very interesting question, can you share experiences where your first reaction to someone's behavior is negative? Later, by reframing the story, you understood and responded differently. Happens all the time at home. So sometimes, so we may have a disagreement at home. For example, my wife wants something and I want something else, and then we argue about it a little bit, and then we understand each other's perspective. For example, this place where I'm working from, where I'm having the seminar, is actually the place which we call drawing room. So it's guest room. So people come here and they are welcomed over here. People might have different places and different cultures of similar sort. So the family from my wife where comes from actually has a very particular belief about the guest room or the drawing room, we could, as we call it. So what happened is that once we got married, we've been married for about 25 years now, almost. So she had the same concept that the drawing room should be locked and nobody should use it, and it should only open when the guests come in. And I had a very different perspective. I love to work in the drawing room, so I make a mess out of it because that's kind of my office place. So sometimes she comes in and she looks around here and there, and then she used to get angry about it first, and now she is actually used to. And I am used to of her occasional anger about it. Yeah, like this thing is not put in a very organized way, and let's organize it, and should not put this thing over here and that thing over there, and we generally go along. So we used to have negative reactions to that, but now we understand. Right, let's move on. Let's move on. Okay, we'll come to the questions in the end now. Otherwise, our topic will miss. So empathy is understanding others. Now, the first thing which we talked about was personality. If I understand my personality, I should try and understand. I teach my students to actually mentally profile other people. See whether they are an extrovert and introvert, whether he's an S or an N, he's a T or an F, he's a P or a J. Then what are their mindsets? There's something on an NLP, but it obviously takes time, so I'm not going to discuss detailed this in detail over here. What are their meta programs they're running? What are their biases? What are their limiting beliefs? What are their values? What are their irrational beliefs, maybe? And what are their mindsets? If I've not spoken about mindset before. When you mentally profile someone, it becomes easier for you to actually talk in a way that you can influence that person. You understand that person, and that person understands you. And there are two particular tips I taught to one of my very esteemed students. He's a head of insurance at a company, Islamic insurance. So I told him that what he can do is actually take a gift to someone who doesn't like him. So he gave a gift to that particular person, and they started having a little bit slightly good relationship after some rough patch gradually. And then I taught him that the people who are actually creating problems for you, go to them directly and ask for some help. This particular thing is actually it has a name. I can't exactly remember the name. But what happens is that when you ask for help from an adversary, because in the office it's not like somebody is coming with a gun and going to kill you, but it's basically creating problem for you, and you have gone and asked for help. Now if he helps you, it's very difficult that he says no because it's an office setting. Now a different type of emotion starts arising in that person. It's creating cognitive dissonance. Why? Because we help people who we like. And if that person has actually helped you, you have borrowed something from him, or you've given him something, like you've asked for some advice and something, he starts having a soft corner for you. And over a period of time, if you repeatedly ask for help every couple of weeks or so, that person softens. And this has worked for him actually. I don't know it works for you or not, but I've seen this working for other people. Now, when you're looking at the other person, it's very important to actually observe the person for his body language and for his non-verbal cues. It's a topic in its own regard, but for example, if I'm saying, if you ask me, do you agree with me? And I say no, yes, I agree with you. So that means my body language is saying I am not agreeing with you, but I am saying I am agreeing with you. If I say no like this, that means behind the scenes there's a yes. There's a beautiful book called Getting to Yes and Only Yes. Both of the books you should read about convincing others for what you want. So you might have actually observed that when they launch a mobile phone, there's a there's a there's a model which is an extraordinary nice model and has extra features, and then there's a middle model, and then there's a very basic model. So most of the people go for the middle model. This is a way of actually making you buy that middle model, because now you have a choice in between two things. So if you want something, you can take a very high choice and you can present then a middle choice and a very low choice. And if the person has some decency, he'll generally go for the middle one. For example, if you're booking a hotel room at company's expense and you take these three choices, company will generally settle for the middle one. Right? So there are ways of how you influence people. But that's another topic. So when we match somebody, we actually start building a feeling of likeness in that person. Now, how can you match someone? You can match someone by actually matching their voice, the speed of the words which are coming out of his mouth, the tone, the pace, and the body language as well. If someone is sitting like this, you can sit like this as well. It's called matching and mirroring in NLP. And mirroring is that you sit in a way the person sees in the mirror. That means if he has the right, this is my right hand like this, you can put your left hand like this. And this actually brings familiarity, and it actually, this is called something that we build rapport with someone. Once you build rapport with someone, it becomes easier for you to influence. Then I was in a seminar and one of the teachers, she taught us one thing. These are called 4 R's of change management. Now, if you want to change somebody, if you want to change yourself even, if you want to change somebody else, maybe your spouse or maybe your kids or maybe your colleague, then the first thing you should do is role model. Role modeling means that you should be the person you want that person to be. Before I can ask others to speak the truth, I have to speak the truth as well. I have to be truthful. Then, secondly, you have to build a relationship with the other person. Once you build a relationship, and there are different ways of building relationship. You may have conversations, deep conversations with other people that they feel good about talking, good about you and good while talking to you. You become a pleasant person. You have a very good character. People start liking you. You're pleasant. So when this happens, the relationship builds. And then there's a very beautiful book called Change Your Questions, Change Your Life. Then you start asking questions in an inquisitive way. Don't you think if we could do this, it would have been better? Now, once if you are saying something, you are wrong, like this, the person becomes defensive immediately. But don't you think that this could be done in a particular way? So I was talking to one of my friends, and they had collected some data on paper forms, and now somebody had asked them to send them these data, and then they were scanning everything. And I asked my friend that why didn't you use Google Forms? And she was completely defensive. I can't teach other person how to make a Google form. They should learn this themselves and this and that. And now that person, that secretary, is now scanning 40 forms, right? Because she became defensive. The better way to ask this question was, don't you think using a Google form would have made this easier for you? So there's a particular way you make people recognize and realize that they could do something in a much better way. And then the last thing is the last R, the first R was role modeling, the second R was relationship building, the third R was realization that you do through asking good questions, and the fourth R would be recognition. If the person has actually done something you wanted that person to do, you should clap for him, you should appreciate him, you should tell him that you've done a very good job and I'm very happy and thank you so much. And this actually helps you to actually complete this cycle. So these are the 4 R's of change management. Let's move on. So there's a question called, can altruism, what is altruism? I am selfless. So sometimes what happens is that what we do is we selflessly help others. If you have taken a flight, they always say that put the mask first on yourself. Remember that you cannot actually pour from an empty cup. So the first person you should take care of is you yourself. At my institute, Numud, with my private clients, what I do is I use a framework. And this framework looks at your life from 6 different perspectives. So, first perspective is your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or God, whatever you think of it. The second relationship is with yourself. How are you taking care of your physical health, your mental health, your social health, your financial health, and your intellectual development? The third one is with your family. Are you building quality relationships with your family? Then the fourth one is with your career or your job, your business or your job or your career. Are you working constantly or increasing your skills? You're improving your skills. I'll share my website. If you look at my website, you'll see I have been through quite a few things, and I've gradually changed my trajectory from being an academic to a trainer and a coach, because I enjoy doing this much more than being in the university. Then fifth one is the people around you. Are you trying to help them? Are you a servant leader to them? And the sixth one is society. Are you leaving something for the society? Are you leaving a legacy to the society? Are you leaving something which becomes a sadqa jariyah for you? So this is how I teach my students. So an overall look of life. Are you building relationships with everyone? Right? So this is how you actually think of. First, you try to understand others. Once you understand others, then you try and make yourself understand. And another interesting thing, there's a book called 5 Love Languages. And you can cautiously use these love languages at the workplace as well. And they've written another book called Five Languages of Appreciation, because obviously it's culturally sensitive. So the five love languages include what? The first one is quality time. Are you giving quality time to the other person? Quality time means time without a mobile phone, especially time without a television screen. Are you having a cup of tea with each other, doing nothing else, just talking, right? Then another one is acts of service. Are you doing something for the other person? And then the third one is words of affirmation. Are you appreciating that person? Then there's another one which is receiving or giving gifts. Are you giving gifts? And a gift can be as little as a pen. My wife likes to receive gifts, so whenever I go to a stationery shop, I bring 2 pens for her, and she's happy. And then for intimate relationships, physical touch. Now, Gary Chapman, who's the writer of the book, says that each one of us has two of these primary languages. Some people like acts of service, some people like words of affirmation, some people like physical touch, and everybody should understand that what their love language is and their spouse's love languages. This makes you, each of you, like you and your spouse, taking turns in fulfilling each other's requirements for love language. Because if you have a different love language and the spouse has a different love language, one is speaking Chinese and the other one is speaking English, and both of them don't understand each other. So you might have heard from somebody that you never praise me. Or say, oh, I'm fixing all the fans and lights of the room. Because your love language was acts of service, and that person's love language was appreciation. And it's almost the same stuff in the office as well. The person needs appreciation and you are giving him something else. So you need to understand and study other people, that what they prefer as a token of expression of love or receiving love. Now the last part of social skills, which is very difficult in terms of teaching in a very short time, that is conflict resolution. What is conflict? It's a disagreement. A disagreement to an extent where some people might simply disagree with each other. I don't agree with you, you don't agree with me, that's fine. And to an extent where people kill each other. This disagreement goes to an extent where people start damaging each other's property, they kill each other. And starts with the resolution part, starts with thinking of finding the best way to sort out a conflict. So when we think win-win, we take other people's perspectives and we try and understand the conflict. Then it's comparatively easier to sort out. Now, since we are talking about emotional intelligence, I'll talk about a particular type of conflict, and that is our internal conflict. So part of you want to be this and a part of you want to be that. What do you do now? So in NLP, there's a very peculiar way of resolving it, but I have like not invented, but I have derived a comparatively easier way. So for example, one of my students, in fact, he was working for me as a videographer. He asked me to make a lot of videos. I am more of a writing person. I like to write. And he said to me that you should start talking about, because we had a very only 4,000 subscribers to our YouTube channel, and videos are much more popular these days. You should talk about social issues. So should be standing about in front of some broken road or some something else which depicts a broken system and talk about it, just like a newspaper reporter. I said, what will happen then? He said to me that more people will view your channel. You'll become more popular. And I said to him that, okay, give me a day. Because he was very sad that he's making a video and then there are only 100 views to it. And next day we sat together and we talked. Because I had given it a very deep thought. I said to him, see, what I inherently don't like is that I'm walking on a road and people recognize me. Because that destroys your private life. There's a cost to a celebrity life. Right? So I don't want to be recognized on the road. So I'm happy being not very popular, not very known from my face. Okay, occasional video is fine, but I don't want to make videos constantly. And do remember that if you spread cow dung in front of your home, you'll have a lot of flies, but they will only increase the smell. If you want to have butterflies and honeybees and maybe enjoy some honey, you'll have to plant flowers. That will take more effort, continuous attending. There will be few butterflies and few honeybees, not as many as the flies, but they will create value for you. So, for example, I told him that I receive, since I write on personal and professional development, and I've been writing for about 7 years, mostly in Urdu, but now I've started writing in English as well. I'll share the channel links to you. So, I have like 15,000 followers on Facebook, like 5,000 on WhatsApp, and the similar numbers, 5,000 on LinkedIn. And almost every day I receive 2 messages that your writings make a difference in my life. And that is enough for me. And out of these 10-15,000 people, I continuously get my clients as well. So it's generating their high value people and they're generating my business as well. So I'm happy with that. I don't want to have like 1 million people out of which nobody buys my services. So we resolved that issue once and for all. And now then he doesn't ask from me that I should stand in front of a road and start speaking about rains and everything else. So what do you do when you have an internal conflict? Write down both sides of the conflict. First become one part, the part of you which wants your work to get to everyone. I've told you this example because I'll just use it as a case study. So a part of me wanted that my work should reach everyone around me and they should benefit from it. Then there was another part of me which wanted me to remain unfamous or hidden from the public eye. And I wrote down the concerns of both and I found a win-win. That I'll keep since my audience, I generally refer to books and I talk a lot about reading and it's a lot of, I would say, intellectual discussion. I want people who not only rely on videos, I want people who can read and write, who still have a habit of writing stuff. And I have a workbook which people write with me. So that's my primary audience and I'm happy with that. So I created a win-win for them. For myself, I have to go to my values, my beliefs, my identity as a teacher, a professor, a scholar. It stops me from doing something which is below the standard, right? Which generally attracts a lot of views on social media. And then social skills also involve teamwork. And teamwork begins when you understand others, when you have people who have joined you for a common goal and a common interest. So when you have a mission in front of you, when you look at your work in a way which is deep and is related to service, it's easy to find people who actually help you. So let's move on. The last part of emotional intelligence. The last part is motivation. I've shown a book here that is called Drive, What Motivates People. And the author, who's known as Daniel H. Pink, has spoken about three major things which are related to motivation. The first one is autonomy. That means you should have some power over the way you want to do your work. The second thing is mastery. That you should have a chance of improving yourself and getting better and better and better with every passing day. And the third one is purpose. When you combine these, your workforce has autonomy, that means some power over them their work, mastery, they have a chance of improving themselves, and purpose, that they know that why they are doing this particular thing. This leads to them being motivated. Their external motivators and their internal motivators. I generally don't like the concept of motivation a lot in the personal life, if you ask me. So, to all my clients, I ask them to build a system and do it whether they like it or not. A system of flexible and fixed schedule. I also myself, I have a mix of flexible and fixed schedule. I do some things which are very fixed in their time, that I know that I have a session after Maghrib in Pakistan and after Isha in Pakistan. These two times are fixed. Even my family knows that what time I'm going to have the dinner. I have a very fixed schedule of reaching to office almost, doing a few things just before starting my work, and then leaving the office at a particular time, reaching home, having lunch, sleeping for about an hour, then sitting with the family. This is a very simple routine which I follow day after day for 5 days a week. Weekend is a bit relaxed. So this system helps me repeat the same stuff every day without much of a thinking. So try not depending upon motivation, try depending upon a system. There's a guy called Ben Meir. There's a guy called Ben Meir, Benmer. He talks a lot about systems. Right? So, how do you build motivation? When you understand what your higher purpose of life is and what do you want to achieve in your life, it becomes easier to get up every day and work for your cause. Then there's a life which you have in obviously in the office, and then you should have a higher purpose which includes your office work, because that is paying your bills and building some sort of skills which you want to take to the next phase of your life, which could be anything. It's obviously person to person, it varies. So we've talked about a few things. We've talked about identifying emotions, scanning yourself, and thinking about whether you are feeling angry, you are feeling irritated, you are feeling happy, you are feeling pleasant, and think about how you can get yourself into certain actions which can raise your level of happiness. Observing emotions in other people, we've talked about it. There are certain micro expressions as well, facial signals, emotional signals, and sometimes you can give signals to yourself. So, for example, if I want to keep my mouth shut during a meeting, I give myself a signal like this. I sit like this, and that's a signal that you have to not speak, right? Sometimes you're itching to speak, and you know that speaking is not a very good thing.
आपको क्या चाहिए उसमें ब्राउज़र चाहिए?
अपने mics, please close your mics. So, emotional expression. How are you communicating your expressions? Remember that most of the conflicts, they arise when you're saying something that is right, but you're saying it in a way which is not right. So, just one tip over here: never ever respond in anger. Never ever. Right? So, if you are very angry upon an email, write the response and wait for a few hours to pass and then look at it again. You'll probably be wanting to revise it. If you're really angry and you want to send a message, a response to someone, just write it down and wait. Wait till your emotions go away. Wait till the emotional storm subsides and then look at it again. You would probably want to revise it. And never ever send a voice note while you are angry. Because it's easier to just push a button and send a voice note and then destroy everything. So wait, write it down. I was just reading this particular book called Super Communicator. I just mentioned you a little bit over there. And it says that the difference between happy couples and the couples who break up is that the happy couples, the people in a happy couple, they try to control their own selves, not the other person. They try to control their environment and they try to control the extent of the fight. So when you are having an argument with your wife or with your husband, if you're trying to control yourself, if you're trying to control the environment and trying not to add fuel to the fire, and if you are trying to control the extent of the fight, not dribbling it to some other thing, to the past 10 years back you said that, or your mother 5 years back said that, then you'll probably cultivate a happy relationship. We've talked about most of these things. We've not talked about biases, that's an altogether different topic. We've not talked about critical thinking over here, and most of the rest of the stuff has been covered. You know, there's something I've observed in my life. I'm alhamdulillah about to become like reach 45. There were some students which were really bright. I've been teaching for about 25 years. There were some students who were really bright and they could not achieve much in their lives. And if they have achieved something, that was at the cost of something else. So there are people who are very well achieved, but they do not have a family or a family life. The people who have a good family life, but they don't have a career. So the idea is to keep a balance. The way I told you about the relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with yourself, with your family, with your career, with the people around you, and with the the society. And another important thing, why do we need a good mood? Or why do we need to be in a good state? Because in a bad state of mind, do think about your life. Have you ever created good outcomes with a bad state of mind? No, it's very difficult. That you are really angry and you are really sad and your work is immaculate. Doesn't happen. Because you're not a robot. So we have certain what age was I married? About 21. So, sorry, coming back. So the point was that if you have a bad state of mind and you're not doing anything to improve it, you're not creating a system which keeps you in a good mood. I have a student. The student is a first year medical student. He's a first year medical student, and his mother was my client as well. So she referred him to me, and that boy, when we started working, he used to be sad and depressed for no reason. His major problem was overthinking, and he was constantly having different thoughts, um, and he was distracted and a lot of things. In the fifth session, he was smiling. When I opened my camera, I saw him smiling, and I asked him, "Why are you smiling?" And he said, "Sir, I'm happy." I asked him, "Why are you happy?" And he said, "Sir, I don't know." I said, "This is success for me that you used to be sad for no reason and now you are happy for no reason." So I was happy and there was a reason about it. So you have to think constantly about creating a system where you can stay at the top of your mood so that you can perform well. You can never be able to perform if you have a bad mood. If you're angry, sad, jealous, have envy, anything else. So what I would suggest you in the end, I would suggest you to create a personalized plan for EI development. I'll share these slides with you with HSEQ, and they will share it with you, inshallah. Find a group of people who can actually mentor you. It could be someone senior, it could be a friend. Whenever I have a problem related to career, I go to certain people in my university. Whenever I have an issue with the with my business, my coaching practice or my teaching practice, I go to people who are in this coaching industry. I would not go to my another professor and ask what should I do, because I know that they have zero idea about this. If I have a religious problem, I go to my teachers from the madrasa and ask them that what is the ruling about it. So you should always have the right people around you, a board of advisors. Then, for example, you are a marketing person. I am a marketing person because I have my own business. I have to market and sell it as well. So there are a few people whom I follow. For example, Seth Godin is one of them. I have read all his books. I love his books. Right? I have read Guy Kawasaki's almost all books. He's an awesome person. Then, since I teach in coach and mentor in leadership, so I've started Maxwell's leadership program, and I've just completed the first step in the certification as a team member, then coach, public speaker, and trainer. It's a pathway which I have started, and I'm at a significant point where I've attended the mandatory conference, which is called IMC, just yesterday. So I'm on that way. So you have to have a group of people who will help you find out yourself, your weaknesses, your strengths. Then there's another thing I forgot to mention, and that's your strength profile. There's a website called 24 VIA Strengths. It's free. Go and check your strongest character traits and try and use them. For me, it's love of learning. So I created a life around learning and teaching. And sometimes I really get physically tired if I have 3 sessions, one after Maghrib, one after Isha, and one after coming back from the university. That's a bit too much. But I'm never mentally tired. Almost never, I would say. Not a robot. Because I do something which I really love to do. I would do it for free. I charge a lot of amount, but I would happily do it for free if somebody pays me something else. So, and you used to do it for free for the last 44 years. Well, I mean, my working life, not 44 years. So try and build an environment where you can hone your emotional intelligence skills. Reflection is very important. Afala yatadabbarun, afala yatafakkarun. Why don't you think? Think about what went wrong, what went right. Ask for feedback. One of my students, name of the website, sorry, I'll write it down. Just Google it and you'll find it. So one of my students came to me and she was having a lot of problems in her medical training, and I asked her one thing. I asked her, did you ask your seniors that what are their issues with you? And there was a complete silence. So that's why there is something called 360-degree feedback. How do the people who work for you think about working with you? Okay? Oh, all right. So let's move on. I think that was probably the last slide. I'm thanking HSEQ, especially Anasab for inviting me to have this webinar. And we were also thinking that if some people are interested, we can actually start a course on emotional intelligence, an online course, because this was like a condensation of about 12 sessions which I take in one-on-one sessions. So it was kind of a summary of whatever we do. So if you are interested, probably there would be a poll in the end, and if we have enough people who are interested, then we may start that. And secondly, you can connect with me on different platforms. So if you find Yahya Noori on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, X, I generally rarely use. Instagram, I've started using recently. Sometimes Medium. and Threads has almost the same stuff which the Instagram has. It's connected. Then you can send me a feedback. I would love to have a feedback of this session. What you did not like, and I can improve upon the next session. And what did you like? A suggestion for improvement, and what was actually good enough that I shouldn't be changing it. And you can email me on yahyanoori@gmail.com, but I don't very often use emails. I like to use WhatsApp more than the email. If you want to see the services, this is my website, www.numud.org, and you may get in touch if you want a one-on-one consultation on something which we discussed. If you want to read what I write, then these are the channels. If you can only read English, then it's WhatsApp English channel. It's called the Rise. And if you want to read Urdu, that is WhatsApp Urdu channel. It's called Numud. And then this is the mailing list you can subscribe to. I send emails once or twice every week, and you can have that. That's all from me. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I can come to the questions now. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't read that 5 minutes coffee break. You should have taken it, but now you can take a break till I'm answering the questions. Okay, let's start from anger management. Workplace stress. We can start from workplace stress. See, depends upon what type of stress you have and what is the reason behind that particular. If it is the stress coming from some other person, because some other people also mentioned other people that they have stress from a senior, they have stress from somebody else. Remember that you can never change other person's attitude. It's very difficult. Maybe you can, but it will take time. What you can change is your own absorptive capacity. Imagine the life of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was 40 when he got the prophethood. He announced it. Before that, earlier years were difficult. And then he had a family, he got married, and for 15 years, he had a family life. And then when he was stable, he was so stable that he would spend days in the cave of Hira, right? And then the first revelation came and the life changed again. It became a very difficult life, a life full of struggle. And then he lost his children, almost all his children who were like his two daughters were grown ups, and then all his sons died in front of his eyes. But when you see the interactions he used to have, he was never bitter. He was never angry. He was almost never angry unless somebody has done something really wrong. He was the most gracious among people with a very pleasant mood. And if you look at his life and then compare our lives, we face nothing as compared to what he has faced. And still he was a pleasant person. And he was a very patient person. So first thing is patience. Inna Allaha ma'as sabirin. And if you are patient, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to be with you. And the second thing is that you can increase your absorptive capacity. So once your absorptive capacity increases, see, a person who works as we call it mallah, a person who has a boat, a boatman. If the boatman sees that the sea is becoming rough, he doesn't abuse the sea. He tries to manage his boat. He knows that unless the water comes inside, I am safe. So his focus is on himself, increasing his capacity. It's the same way you go to gym for the first day. 2 kg is very difficult for you to lift, maybe 3 kg, 4 kg. But a few weeks later on, you are lifting a 5 times weight than you used to lift earlier. Becomes easier for you. Why? because you became stronger, you became better. So the way of dealing with other people is becoming better, becoming more gracious, becoming more absorptive. So we've talked about anger management almost one or two things. We've discussed it. It's a very difficult, different topic, not difficult, different topic. The first thing you should try in managing your anger is your state change. If you are sitting, stand up. If you're standing, sit down or lie down. Use water. How to handle a person who always says bad things for the person in front of us, but behind he meets that person and shares office things. It's kind of very unspecific, but I would say patience is an option, and can't say much about it again because it comes to the same thing that you cannot change other people unless they really want to change themselves, and there would be all sort of people you will come across in your lives. Emotional to convince management related for HSE implementation. Muhammad Nadeem Ashraf. I want one example how I use emotional intelligence to convince management related for HSE implementation. Which means you, if I have understood correctly, you want to convince your management. First of all, you want to see that what management is, who is the person you are going to talk. Profile him mentally, see what is important for him, and then you would probably be able to uh, change your message, alter your message according to that person. Secondly, remember that fear is a better motivator than hope. So if they are not sticking to HSE standards, there would be certain repercussions to that. Highlight them. How can one convince management that inflation rate is increased? That is very difficult, my dear. We haven't been able to do so. What I was making in 2003, I'm talking in Pakistani currency. So what I was making in 2003, in 2013, I was making one third out of it, despite spending 1 million on myself, right? So my personal development. Instead of salary going up, it was going down. It was going up in numbers, but the dollar rate to Pakistani rupee has gone drastically up. And the inflation has increased 3 times as well. So I would say it was only a fraction of what I was making 10 years earlier. Aman Sahab, there's a beautiful prayer I use for these type of people, and that is generally a prayer of sleeping. But I use it during the day as well. Aslam to nafsi ilaik wal ja'tu zahri ilaik. That means I put my back towards you. That means I make you protector over my back. So if you have a very strong connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he'll take care of that. It was an excellent era. After that, I did 4 jobs, and despite my sincerity, all ended up with mess. Now I'm losing confidence on me. What should I do with my personality and have positive working environment? Badshah Saab, why don't you think of start doing a little bit of what you really have experience in and what you like doing? It will probably help you. I can't say that that's a very specific situation without understanding the context of it in details, but I would say that it's much better to do something you like and something you are good at. Empathy has three perspectives: thinking, heart, and action learned. Right, Mahmood Saab? There's agreed. There are a lot of backstabbers around in the world. Again, Aslam to nafsi ilaik, wal ja'tu zahri ilaik. Always asking questions, people start irritating. EQ doesn't mean arguing with others, it's about feelings, looking through others' lens to make him feel respected and understood. Is that statement correct? I would say almost correct. Yes, I would agree to that. 5 minutes of coffee break. I am so sorry I missed it because I was busy in delivering the lecture. Analogy of conflict management. It's like like fire, if not managed well for warmth or comfort, might burn you. Human motivation is intrinsic, mostly comes within the person. Save toxic people, that's good. If you intellect wise, you can guide toxic people, but they refuse to change. There's a way to influence others. There's a beautiful book called Talk to the Elephant. I use this particular book while teaching workshop development. So the concept is that you have uh, a mind, which is subconscious mind. And you have a conscious mind, a logical mind. What we generally do is we talk to the conscious mind. We are trying to give logic. And most of the time, the person, the elephant, which is the subconscious mind, we don't talk to it. It likes stories, it likes pictures, it likes metaphors. There's a particular way to talk to the subconscious mind. So if you use these particular ways, you can actually influence the behavior to quite some extent. Then there are books by Robert Cialdini called Influence and Persuasion. These books are uh, much, they talk a lot about influencing people. So I obviously cannot cover everything during this little 2 hours talk. Duration is short. Attendance form, VIA 24 strength. I'll just go down quickly. Meeting summaries make meetings more effective. Ta-da-da. How do you approach the conflict between two colleagues when they believe they are right? Asking questions is a very good idea. Change your questions, change your life. You should read that. Proper slides with proper details of webinar. Proper slides with proper details of webinar. Generally, if this was not a webinar, I would teach on a whiteboard. Honestly, I've almost stopped using slides. And when I have one-on-one, I simply use a Google Doc and then talk from my memory. Thank you very much, Aisha. Thanks. I already have it. Atif Sami, Shumul Al Harabi. Thank you. It was interesting. Thank you so much for all your appreciation. Abdul Rahman, this is digital era. We mostly stress for no reason. First of all, what you should do is you should control your screen time. I bet it would be around 3 hours. So there's a lot of distraction. We cannot work in flow. There's another book called Flow. The name of the guy is very difficult, so I won't write it. His name is Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. Just write Flow and you'll find it. So it will tell you that if you are working at a task with a deep understanding and involvement in it, you will lose the sense of time and space. And that is the flow state, and that is where you create your best work. And obviously, my phone is silent. It doesn't bug me during my work. So everybody who works with me and who's interacting with me knows that I generally don't pick up calls. When I give my number, I tell them that please don't call me, send me a message, and I'll respond. Screen time affects children, screen time affects adults as well. What you can do is, it's very difficult to control that, Ahmad Raza Sahab, but what you can do is you can create different hobbies for them. Right? I think everything have been covered almost. I am thankful to all of you for this particular seminar, being here. So let me stop sharing and have a last look at you guys. Stop sharing. Oh, sorry. Sometimes still feel overwhelmed by this control system. Every other few months it changes. So that's it, Janab. Thank you so much. If you want to connect with me, you will have all the links. Just search me on the Google and you will find a lot of links of Yahya Noori, and we can inshallah connect and stay in touch. You can follow my WhatsApp channel for daily dose of reflections, and the Substack as well for newsletter. And those of you who read Urdu can also join my WhatsApp channel. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum. Goodbye. Allah Hafiz. Inshallah, we'll see you soon.